He is also chairperson on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. This document was laid on the table of the House on 1st August 2024 and is expected to be seconded by the Pula Member of Parliament, Mr. Chanda Katotobwe. And earlier in the day, we did also have His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, addressing Parliament, and quite a number of key issues were raised in his address, and we'll be able to share with you some of the key points that were raised by the Burundian President. And according to our standing orders, members of Parliament are expected to debate the President's address, and the motion is expected to be moved by Her Honor the Vice President. Thanks His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye's special address that this House places on record. It's thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House. If you just joined us earlier in the day, the visiting head of state did begin by expressing gratitude to the usual warm welcome reception that he received by the Zambian people and the Zambian government. And he also talked about how the two countries are linked, and they're linked via culture and geographical through the Lake Tanganyika. If we've heard and followed, the Republican president did talk about how critical the Lake Tanganyika is in terms of connecting Zambia to the East African countries there, and the president did talk about it, and also he emphasized the importance of parliamentary diplomacy, hence him coming here with his entourage just to address Parliament and just to interact and see how the two countries can interact in seizing the opportunities that exist in these two countries. And he also talked about the role that the first Republican president played during the struggle of Burundi in the early 80s, when he went there and talked about the One Zambia, One Nation motto, which he coined to be one country, one people in Burundi. So we'll be able to share with you details of some of the key points that the President raised earlier in the day. And when business resumed, business did begin by Madam Speaker making few announcements. I'll be able to share with you the details of those announcements. But just for a reminder for the people that are following us via our television set, and those of you that are following us on our Facebook platform, and so also not forgetting YouTube, just know that the House adjourned at 12:55 hours for lunch break, and at the time business was suspended. The House was considering the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts. We now cross over to the chamber. Well, there you have it. Bells are ringing, which means that there is no quorum on the floor of the House. If you're just watching Parliament for the first time, it is a requirement that 1/3 of the total number of members of Parliament be present for any business to be transacted on the floor of the House. I was talking about the report. And it was Zambezi East Member of Parliament. The House did
energy on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 1st January. And so this report is coming up for consideration, and at the time business was suspended for a lunch break. The House was considering the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 1st August 2024. And so this motion was moved by Siavonga Member of Parliament, Mr. Dalius Mulunda, and it was seconded by Chasefo Member of Parliament, Mr. Mishek Nyambose.
So far, 2 questions have been considered on the floor of the House. These are questions for oral answer, understanding order 82, and these are urgent in nature. And the first one came from Mrs. Chinyama Kafue, Member of Parliament. It was question 413, and directing her question to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. The member wanted to find out why the land agency for Kafue Town Council was revoked and when the land agency will be reinstated. The other question came from Mr. Kampiongo Shiwangandu, Member of Parliament, asking the Minister of Health, and it was question 414.
He wanted to find out whether the medicines that were intercepted by the police in the Copperbelt province en route to the Democratic Republic of Congo, as reported in the Newsdiggers newspaper of 31st. The government, if so, where the medicines came from, and in part 2 of the questions, question what health facilities.
Still to come is the Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024. This one is coming up at committee stage, and we also have the thanks His Excellency Mr. Evariste Nyaishimie's special address that this House places on record. It's thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House. So expect some members of Parliament debate his address before the House adjourns.
Yes, possibly. So bells are still ringing, like my colleague mentioned, that it is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament must be present in the House for any business to transact. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect business of the House to resume.
All right, so I'd like to urge you to be with us on Parliament television. We'll leave you with live pictures, and keep watching Parliament television. Matimba and I will be on hand to give you live commentaries. So anytime from now, once the quorum is formed, business resumes. In the case of quorum not constituted, the House may adjourn.
Thank you. Okay, let them sit down, please. Order, honorable members. When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the honorable member for Siavonga that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of the local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 1st August 2024. And the honorable member for Zambezi East was debating. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Indeed, at the time we broke off, I was just trying to elaborate the fact that any institution, their operations are enhanced by good corporate governance. And in the case of the town councils or city councils, this corporate governance is supposed to be actually offered by the councils, those elected officials. So we need to find a way in which these will add value to the management of these councils. What is it that they do in those meetings where they sit to improve the situation at the councils? Because, of course, what we are discussing here are accounts of these institutions. But there are many other operational issues which affect the quality of the Auditor General's report. And if you look close, there are so many issues to do with missing vouchers, issues to do with really aligning to a challenge in internal controls. It depends on how these people are supervised, starting from top management to the very lowest level of staff at those institutions. That's the reason why we still have these reports coming out the same way. They used to come out the same way those years, even now they are still coming out the same way. I'd like us to take a leaf from what happened some time back when we had an institution which was called Central Board of Health. An institution that came to improve the systems in the health sector. There were boards that were set to supervise district health teams, and those boards offered some quality supervisory role at corporate governance. And there was a system of actually monitoring the performance of each management team. Why can't we come up with, I know we have got a commission, the Local Government Service Commission, which is responsible even for recruitment of these local authority staff. Why can't we have a wing that will put up a system of monitoring the performance in terms of the operations of these local authorities on, say, a quarterly basis? Why I'm suggesting this is during the Central Board of Health, they used to have what they were calling quarterly visits. And these visits really helped those institutions to become very accountable. And in the local authorities, we don't seem to have this supervisory role coming from some central. Yes, the way the law sits, these institutions are supposed to be self-contained. But I think the way we have done well in supporting them in terms of recruitment of their staff, we need to find a way of putting up some institution that will just supervise their operations so that they are aware. You know, human beings, when they know that they have a blank check, they don't really mind how they take care of the resources that are invested in them. That's the reason why we are seeing these queries coming up in the reports every now and then, because that supervisory role is actually missing. The councils, sometimes even these so-called councillors, do not even understand what goes in there. So their oversight role is quite limited. So we are actually lacking, starting from the corporate governance that's supposed to be given to these institutions, and the supervisory role probably through this ministry or through this commission, which is already in place. So we need to find a way of enhancing the operations of the commission. Probably the Honorable Minister of Finance, as we get to the budget cycle, we might need probably to beef up the budget for the Local Government Service Commission, so that there could be at least a wing that will help to provide that supervisory role, probably on a quarterly basis. Then we will see and improve the situation. Because there are leakages everywhere, not just the expenditure, even the revenue. When you look at the revenue performance of these local authorities, it's quite, it's quite not too good. Some councils have got many avenues where they can raise finances, like the Lusaka City Council, the Ndola City Council, Kitwe City Council, these big councils. There are so many avenues that they can actually get their revenue from. But look at how dependent they are on central government funding. So this is what we need to deal with. We need to put all our efforts towards making at least these city councils to become self-sufficient. The amount of revenue that they should be raising should be enough to make them meet the needs for their operations and also the services that they offer within that council. In developed countries, this is what is happening. Rarely do you get appropriations coming from central government to these institutions because they make sure that they collect the revenue and that revenue is well accounted for and the service delivery is enhanced because the resources are well accounted for. So, in my opinion, I think the point I'm trying to drive home is we need to relook at the systems in terms of how local authorities are managed. Probably we need some supervisory role. Until such a time that we see that local authorities are operating nicely and independently, we need to provide that supervisory role. I submit, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We still have a lot of work, and I've seen there are so many indications, but I believe we've had 4 debaters already. So I will get one honorable member from each side, one from the UPND, one from the PF, one independent. We start with the independents. The honorable member for Chengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for allowing the people of Chengi to support this report. Madam Speaker, the local government needs a lot of support from all the stakeholders. I mean, all the Zambians should support the local government because this is where service delivery is needed much to be brought closer to the people of Zambia. Now, when you look at the performance of the councils, really most of the councils are struggling, especially the city councils. They're failing even to pay their members of staff, unlike these smaller or town councils. Madam Speaker, allow me to talk about equalization fund. And before I talk about the equalization fund, from the look of things, the local government ministry is always having ministers who are able to deliver. But the challenge which is there is the managers. The managers who are the councils who are managing the affairs on behalf of the Zambians. Madam Speaker, you realize that these councils, no matter how they are issued with memorandums or circular letters to inform them that they should be sharing information with their area members of Parliament on the usage of the 20% of the equalization fund. They don't give that report. I'm yet to hear any member of Parliament who has received a report from his or her council. They don't provide that. So to hold the councils accountable is becoming very, very, very difficult. Perhaps, or maybe we should say, we should take back the members of Parliament back in the chamber so that they can start monitoring closely how the subcommittee, financial subcommittee is operating. Like the Honorable who has just finished debating, Madam Speaker. The oversight here is where we have a problem. There's no one to offer checks and balances properly or to do the auditing by keeping a close eye on these councils. As a result, it's like, I'll just say, laissez-faire. Madam Speaker, in order for the councils to start ticking, we have a lot of youths in our country, the young people who are in dire need of jobs. The councils should work together with the Ministry of Home Affairs through Correctional Services so that they can start having farms. We have plenty of land. In the areas where it's rain belt, let them go into agriculture. Where they don't have rains, in other places, unfortunately, where there are no rains, let them go into animal husbandry. It will help this nation. But you'll find that these councils, they wait for equalization funds to come through, and then they take that equalization fund, even they use it, for salaries. They're failing even to manage their lodges. The lodges where everyone is looking forward that they may get something. But they're very good at disposing of properties in order for them to, to balance up their, their finances. Madam Speaker, I'll give an example of Lusaka City Council. Lusaka City Council has been a pain to the Zambians. I say so, they are being so quick in selling properties. There's one property in Kablonga, which has even the government of Japan and Rotary. But you find that that building, the council is very much, geared to sell the land.
The deputy government chief whip, I thought you are the one who is supposed to maintain discipline and order in the house. Now you are congregating with other members. You can step outside and have a chat if you want to, so that we follow the proceedings. May the honorable member for Chiengi continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was talking about the way they have the appetite of selling properties, and when they get the funds from whatever they try to sell in order to, to cushion their funds. Madam Speaker, they are very good at selling properties. And you'll find that these properties, they undervalue them. Even after undervaluing, they are so quick to sell after the subcommittee of the finance in the council chambers have given them a report. So I think what the local governments, these councils are missing or what is missing is oversight. They need close monitoring. There should be an independent body or board or a body that should start following up and keeping an eye on these councils. Otherwise, they are they are a parasite to the national treasury. They keep on sucking, but nothing is being given back to the nation. So it's very important that they should become innovative, where they have means and ways of having some revenue. Madam Speaker, years back when I used to work for the council, Kabwe Municipal Council, we were the ones who were collecting monies on behalf of these driver's license or registration of vehicles. Maybe if that is given back to the council, again, they'll be managing. Ever since the water and sewerage companies came up, also that has been a problem for the council, because they used to get money from the rates and water bills that they used to, to get from the public. I think the only way that we are going to have the local government to tick, there should be an independent board that will start to do the oversight. As it is now, the local government commission is not doing the right job, and I don't think it's part and parcel of, if it's within their powers and function, I don't think it's there. So I think what is needed, there should be another, or we come up with a deliberate policy as a government so that they should be monitored closely. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, the National Treasury is just being drained every year, year in, year out, because these councils, they're a parasite on the National Treasury. With a few words, I support the report, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I notice the Honorable Member for Chama South is not around, so that means he has saved us one space. The Honorable Member for Lufubu is also not around. So I'll call on the Honorable Minister to respond.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to put on record my gratitude to the committee chairman who moved this motion, as well as the seconder. I will go straight to their concerns, which hover around the weaknesses in the systems of management of public funds, the weaknesses in the systems of revenue collection, the weakness in the system of budgeting processes, and also what one could see from the naked eye as just malpractice in terms of missing accounting documents such as receipts. I thank you too, Honorable Nyambose, for augmenting the chairman's report and giving examples of guest houses that are cracked, whereas you are inside, you can see the outside through the crack. I also take note of the management, the lamentation of the management of other public areas like markets, bus stations, workshops, property rates, and the manipulation of receipts. And the example you gave was Nakonde Town Council. Mr. Mukosa was quite passionate about the same weaknesses in internal controls, and this is the reason why we have in the establishment a Department of Internal Audit. The Department of Internal Audit is supposed to serve the very purpose of detecting the weaknesses in the systems. It's supposed to detect fraud. It's supposed to detect all malpractices. It's supposed to be the tool for self-assessment in each council before external auditors come to check their books. I also take the lamentation about the transfer of problems from Honorable Kalalwe Mukosa, where he said that once a problem is observed with one's work culture, they are simply transferred to another council. I agree with you. One thing that I could respond around this area is that we found a cadre of employees in the council that were appointed based on political patronage, that were appointed on pleasing people who belong to a certain political parties. That was clear. And I want to say that as a remedy to this, the Local Government Service Commission, beginning with Lusaka, did a performance and qualification audit. And the findings of those audits are now public documents, where we found that people who had not attained the required or requisite academic qualifications had been given employment in sensitive jobs, some of which speak to financial accounting. Just now, Madam Speaker, I would like to state that this particular behavior was widespread. It was not only in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, it was widespread. Everywhere we had people who were of less caliber, less qualification capacity being given jobs. If we go now to the institutions that I run, take markets, we are coming from a very difficult past. If we all know that there's no contest to that fact, we are coming from a very difficult past where the so-called systems that are weak had been usurped by political cadres. We have been in office now 2 years, 7 months, Madam Speaker. And it's been a tedious job to reverse all these things. For instance, to give you an example, the biggest market here in Lusaka, called Soweto Market, was run by an institution that was called Kamgodi. That was the nerve center of the operations of Soweto Market. That's where they were collecting revenue, the same revenue you are complaining that is not being collected. Now, 2 years, 7 months down the line, I want to announce here that the councils do not have the same perennial problems of arrears. Lusaka, that you are complaining about, is probably 3 months ahead in terms of their liquidity and ability to pay salaries. For the first time, in 2021, they wanted business as usual. They came to me, went to the Treasury, asked the Treasury to allow them to borrow 29 million kwacha to deal with salaries. We said this is not sustainable. The story is straightforward. We had to be ingenious to come to where we are, and it included making sure that all those bad eggs that were masquerading as market masters, but disguised inside they were PF, to be very clear now. But they were employed as market masters, and they had no receipt books. They were taking money to Kamgodi, which money was going to the PF Secretariat here at near Strife in Lumumba Road. Those are facts. Every Friday they used to take money there. The money booths that we cleared from Lusaka, Madam Speaker, every Friday at 15 hours around this time, they were contributing 100 kwacha to Patriotic Front. We have those details. Give me a chance. I'm the minister responsible. I am the minister responsible. The truth has no disguise, Madam Speaker. Here I want my stress point. My stress point is that we are coming from a very difficult past where all that was prevailing in these councils was jungle law. Everybody would come, leave their jacket, and go out and make money any which way they wanted. That is a fact. And this is the reason why, if you want evidence, I can give you a glossary of names. Those PF cadres who of the win of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema vanished from their employment. Their records are there at Lusaka City Council. They just went into thin air. They left. Now, old habits die hard, Madam Speaker. We still have, and I want to confirm this and say this firmly, we still have people of that caliber in our councils. But we are not going to treat everyone, all and sundry, and fire people the way others did. The president said we'll give them 2-3 years to reform. And once they fail to reform, once they have said no to reformation, then we're going to get the guillotine. We'll get the guillotine. And we'll remove them on national interest. Because this issue of revenue collection and failure to account for public money sits at the heart of national security. Yes, the parasitic behavior that my colleague from Chienge spoke about, it is true that they were called parasites. But how? It's because the government, when the government is wrong, it is dangerous to be right. At that time, councils started now just, surviving on abracadabra, I would put it, because the money was going to the political party. When our president took off, he said we are going to separate these things. Government will be on its own, the political party will be on its own. The sale of property that my colleague spoke about, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, and I want to take advantage of this position that all public assets for the council that have been sold and even titled during PF are going to be put on a restriction order through the Drug Enforcement Commission and through the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because the argument, Madam Speaker, just now, there is a public story that's going on about someone who built a house on a road. Can you imagine building a house on Cairo Road? That regardless whether it's a short Seramubanga Road or a long Chilumburu Road, just the idea of allowing someone to build a house on a road is atrocious. To give you details, if you want evidence, Honorable Chibombwe, the council that approved that creation of 2 plots on the road was a PF council, and unfortunately, the one who proposed for the creation of that is the late Humphrey Kapapula. May he so rest in peace. And we can't bring him to book today because you asked me to provide evidence. I have here underneath the council minutes.
May the minister speaks through the chair.
I beg your pardon. Okay. I have with me underneath here the council minutes where some people who were councillors here, like my son, who's grinning there, were in that council meeting that apportioned a road. I talked about my son. That's my son, yes. He was part of the council that apportioned a whole road for public use, including a drainage, to their own selves, and then they sold to a Chinaman who innocently paid colossal amounts of money, and today he's coming to say, here are my documents I bought. All public areas, play parks, that have been sold. Honorable Minister of Land, my sister, the directive is that we put them all on restriction order. And you are going to build at your own peril. Because time has come where those who are now dancing to the same tune that they sang are saying UPND are just demolishing things for the poor, the chickens have now come home to roost. And it will catch up because these things have got a documentary trail. If you took something that is not yours, you gave authority to something that you needed not to have given authority, the law will catch up with you. Yes. Madam Speaker, the councils require help. And we need to also do more in terms of performance audits to make sure that the bad eggs, those who are still living and clinging on to the...
May the Honorable Minister wind up?
Yes.
Time is up.
I'm finally saying, those who are still clinging on to the remnants of the glorious past must now take this as a sound warning that will remove you from employment, so that we start smooth sailing. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, Honorable Member from Pika, you have a point of order. What's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for your statement. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Local Government has stated that properties sold under PF will be put on restriction. But he has not stated what will happen to that play park, the North Mid play park, which his national chairperson for the youth has sold it to the Lebanese. Madam Speaker, I need your very serious ruling. Is in order to have left that one out on the properties that must be restricted. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. If I heard the Minister correctly, when he was saying properties sold, he did not mention any particular property. Even us as Parliament, we have property there at Parliament Village, which is in the hands of a Chinese and is trying to build there. So if those properties can be put on restriction, we'll also be happy, because there is no way a foreigner can build on Parliament building. That's a security risk. So let's allow the Minister to do his work, and he has our full support. May the Honorable Member for Siavonga wind up debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate the members that have debated on our report. Madam Speaker, I do not want to dilute the good message that the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development has delivered in this House. I'm aware that the councils, and I've been chairperson for this committee for the past 3 years, and I'm aware that what he has alluded to is what was obtaining these people that were in our councils. The ministry or the councils were in a mess, because people in there were the people that were good at dancing, and indeed, we know that the councils were in Dununa reverse. They are dancing in Dununa reverse at its best. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Order. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts, on the report of the Auditor General, on the accounts of the local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2022, for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next motion. The Honorable Member for Seshek.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2022, laid on the table of the House on 1st August 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker, it's duly seconded.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Luapula. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism on the Special Audit Report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 1st August 2024. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Sesheke.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with its terms of reference as set out under Standing Orders 206D and 207G of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, the committee considered the Special Audit Report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022. And has had the rare honor and privilege to present its findings before the House. Madam Speaker, to address the queries in the Auditor General's report, the committee engaged with controlling officers and other stakeholders from the institutions cited in the report, who provided both written and oral submissions. Madam Speaker, allow me to highlight a few pertinent issues that emanated from the committee's deliberations. Madam Speaker, one prominent issue in the Special Auditor's report is the overstatement of invoices due to deficit factors. Previous contracts signed by the Ministry of Energy specified that the deficit range for converting unit prices from $$ per metric ton to $$ per cubic meter should be 0.710 to 0.785 for petrol and 0.82 to 0.88 for diesel. However, an examination of 589 invoices from 3 suppliers across 4 contracts revealed that petrol and diesel supplied to Ndola Fuel Terminal and other depots were invoiced using the upper density limit instead of the actual density at the time of delivery. This resulted in an overstatement of the invoices by $36,373,827 million. Madam Speaker, if public funds are to be used prudently, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Energy should collaborate with other state institutions, including the Zambia Compulsory Standard Agency, in scrutinizing contract clauses that require specialized technical input, such as product standards. The committee further recommends that clauses on products be based on national standards, which are developed in consultation with a wide field of experts, leading to the creation of agreed practices that can be considered as objective criteria for the product. Madam Speaker, another matter of great concern is a contract entered into between the Ministry of Energy and Ganvo SA for the supply of 1,440,000 metric tons of commingled petroleum feedstock. An addendum signed on 4th February 2015 increased the quantity to 2,100,000 160,000 metric tons and introduced inspection tests, appointing Intertech Testing Services as the independent inspector. In this regard, 1.6 million 15,335.67 metric tons were delivered from December 2012 to June 2015. Madam Speaker, on the 5th of August 2015, the ministry specified that the feedstock should contain 1 party per million of organic chloride, but did not amend the contract to include this requirement. A review of the load port certificate for crude oil, dated on 10th January 2016, from the independent inspector revealed that the organic chloride contained in the crude oil supplied was 4 ppm instead of 1. Which was above the recommended 1 ppm. As a result, the ministry rejected the cargo on 21st January 2016 at Dar es Salaam. In the response, the supplier wrote a letter to the ministry on 26th January 2016 proposing a partial discharge, but the ministry terminated the contract on the 4th February 2016, leading to arbitration in London. On 2nd October 2019, the court awarded Ganvo, who supplied the contaminated, with $34,418,696 in the damages, resulting in wasteful expenditure. Further, by 31 December 2022, the ministry had paid the full amount plus 5 million kwacha, 645.38 kwacha in legal and arbitration fees. Madam Speaker, the committee is greatly concerned that a supplier whose product had caused corrosion on equipment at the Indeni Petroleum refinery was re-engaged to supply an additional quantity through an addendum. The committee further observes that, with great concern, that officers in the Ministry of Energy entrusted with the responsibility to drafting and awarding contracts seem to have colluded with suppliers to defraud the Zambian government. The committee, therefore, recommends that these matters be forwarded to law enforcement agencies for investigation and prosecution of any perpetrators. Additionally, the committee recommends the strengthening of systems to prevent such collusion in the future. Madam Speaker, the committee bemoans the abuse of direct bidding as a method of procurement by the Ministry of Energy. On 13th March 2019, the ministry entered into a contract with Gulfstream International FCZ for the design and construction of 120,000 cubic meters capacity fuel depot in Lusaka district, although the ministry was granted a no objection by the Zambian Procurement Authority, ZPPA, to direct bid on the justification that the contractor was the only one with a suitable piece of land in the area. However, the ministry did not carry out a survey to establish whether reasonable alternatives existed. This was contrary to Section 32 subsection 2A of the Public Procurement Act number 12 of 2008, which in force at the time. Additionally, there was no valuation report to support the amount of $1,525,000 paid for the land. The committee observes that the basis for direct bidding Gulfstream International FCZ is questionable, especially since no action was taken to verify that no reasonable alternative or substitute land existed. The committee further notes with concern the abuse of evaluation report to support the $1,525,000 US paid for the land. In this regard, the committee recommends disciplinary action against ministry officials responsible for this anomaly. Further, the ZPPA should conduct regular compliance and capacity assessment at the ministry to ensure adherence to the Public Procurement Act number 8 of 2020 and its regulations. Madam Speaker, finally, the committee commends the Office of the Auditor General for undertaking the special audit report to the ministry, to the committee, and further calls for the contents of this special audit report to be thoroughly examined and forwarded to the law enforcement agencies for prosecution of those found accountable. Madam Speaker, allow me to express my sincere gratitude to you and to the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the guidance and support rendered to the committee during its deliberation. The committee is also indebted to all the stakeholders who appeared before it for their cooperation in providing the necessary information that informed the committee's report. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Luapula.
Madam Speaker, gratitude to the chairperson of our committee, Honorable Romeo Kangombe, for moving this motion. Gratitude to members of the committee, our secretariat, and last but not the least, all witnesses who appeared before our committee, including the Office of the Auditor General. Madam Speaker, audit is meant to control cost, it's meant to control theft, it's meant to control, correct mistakes, and punish culprits, and put up strong systems to improve performance, efficiency, in order for the country to draw maximum benefits from its mega financial resources. Madam Speaker, when audits are done 4 years later, Madam Speaker, it becomes very difficult to get maximum yield and punish the corresponding culprits accordingly. Madam Speaker, it is fundamental, and we all must agree, that no public funds must be intentionally wasted or embezzled, Madam Speaker. However, Madam Speaker, it is paramount that when these audits are being done, using an auditing term, adverse opinion should not be translated into available bias, because at the end of the day, we want justice to prevail. Madam Speaker, the overstatement on the invoices involving the density, which amounts to $36,373,827, is a huge, colossal amount of money. The use of the upper density limit of 0.785 per kilogram per cubic meter for petrol, and the upper density limit of 0.88 kilograms per cubic meter for diesel as a conversion unit, for ton of fuel. The explanations which were given lacks clarity, Madam Speaker. In this special audit, which runs from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022, in relation with the procurement and management of petroleum products in Zambia. The Office of the Auditor General and the Ministry of Energy admits that the contract densities were erroneously set up to use the upper limits. Yet, in the submission from the Office of the Auditor General, Madam Speaker, it was revealed that density varies depending on temperature and other variables. In the absence of a detailed report on temperature, volume, even the volatility and humidity in the environment, it becomes very difficult to establish and zoom in what exactly went wrong, Madam Speaker. Viscosity is also a factor, Madam Speaker, except it's a factor when you're dealing with crude oil. Here we are dealing with finished products. The properties, these properties, temperature, volatility, humidity, can increase evaporation of volatile elements, Madam Speaker. In the end, the quotient for mass and volume is increased. In simple terms, Madam Speaker, density is mass per unit volume, and we must endeavor to improve conditions in the environment, practically in the labs where these tests are being undertaken, in order for us to understand set parameters, including the margin of error. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, as we endeavor to detect, correct annually via the use of annual audit, the incorrect and fraudulent transactions must be punished, but the punishment must be consistent. On the other hand, Madam Speaker, weaponizing audit queries will continue to intimidate our public servants, which in turn will adversely affect their performance and will lower their performance of our national economy, of our country.
Order, Honorable Member for Wapula. There is a point of order from the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs. And
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, I would like you to take judicial notice on the role of the seconder of the motion of the committee. Madam Speaker, the honorable member who is the seconder of the motion is contradicting the report, is substituting his opinions, and further, he is even disagreeing completely with the Auditor General's report, which is supposed to be submitting to us. Would it be in order for us, Madam Speaker, to debate a report, his own report, which is contradicting, which doesn't want us to support? He has rejected it. Is he in order, Madam Speaker?
Order, honorable members. The role of a seconder is to support the report. The honorable member for Wapula is a member of this particular committee. The committee has come up with a report. The role of the honorable member is to highlight the issues that have been brought out in the report and support the report. Sometimes I wonder how we debate when we get reports. It's like we are defending. Some members debate in a way to appear like they are defending the wrongdoing, which is not our role. Our role here as Parliament is to provide oversight. So let's do that. Let's provide oversight. Those questions that the Honorable Member for Luapula is bringing out, they should have been interrogated in the committee when witnesses were being interrogated. Then when you come here to the House, you speak with one voice. May the Honorable Member for Luapula continue seconding in the proper way.
Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to reiterate that our public servants require justice. And in these technical issues, it's important that the technicalities which may be prevalent must be, highlighted. With that said, Madam Speaker, I second the motion and thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I have a lot of members that have indicated we don't have the whole day. We should have adjourned at 13 hours, but here we are. It's now 15:27. So what we will do is I will ask 3 members from the UPND, 3 members from the PF, and 3 from the independents. That will give us 48 minutes already. Can we agree that we debate for 4 minutes? Okay. I have not asked you to say anything. Honorable Member from Pika. I'm just trying to manage time, because if we continue and the honorable members keep on leaving the chamber, so that risks the quorum dropping. We can debate, but let's manage the time so that honorable members are also alert and alive to the debate. This report is a technical report on the procurement of petroleum. When we debate, let's zero in on the procurement of petroleum. We start with the Honorable Member from Nkana.
Madam Speaker, we are discussing the report of your committee, which considered the special audit that was undertaken on the procurement as well as the management of petroleum products from the period 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022. Madam Speaker, as you have mentioned, this is a very technical subject, and I would like to implore that those who don't understand it must stay away. Madam Speaker, perusing through this report, there are a number of audit findings that have been highlighted. Some of those, findings, Madam Speaker, appears to be bordering on issues of corruption. Others appear to be bordering on issues of misapplication of funds, collusion, embezzlement of public funds, and the like. A few of these audit findings, Madam Speaker, for the sake of record, there are issues of, irregular or direct bidding. There are issues of failure to secure title deeds, particularly for the depot that was constructed in Mansa, as well as in Chipata. There is an audit query on the failure to operationalize the depot in Chipata, which was fully constructed. The issues of single sourcing, Madam Speaker, issues of invoice pricing, the lack of conducting due diligence on suppliers of fuel. These are but the many issues that have been highlighted in your report, Madam Speaker, which borders on issues that I stated, some of which looks like corruption, some of which looks like collusion, embezzlement. And, Madam Speaker, this report has come at a point where almost the whole week we've been talking about the subject of corruption. Corruption is a cancer that must be fought with vigor. And any corrupt practice, be it that it was conducted or done in the past, or be it that is being done today, must be given the same punishment. If somebody embezzled funds in the past, they must be meted with the same punishment as somebody who has embezzled funds today. Madam Speaker, as a technical point of view, or from a technical point of view, it's important to understand this process. We are talking about the procurement of fuel and also the management of fuel. In the past, Madam Speaker, for those that may want to understand what we're discussing, the previous governments, and I'm not talking about PF, the previous governments from UNIP had government participating full-time in the procurement and management and distribution of petroleum products, which saw the establishment of Tazama, which is a pipeline that would transport the commingled fuel all the way from Dar es Salaam into the refinery at Indeni. That, Madam Speaker, we can draw a lot of lessons from that system because it enabled government to be in full control of the entire petroleum subsector, right from the procurement into the distribution. Because, Madam Speaker, you wish to know, when a ship would dock, it would give us sufficient supply of petroleum products for at least 3 months. And we're not just talking about petrol, we are also talking about diesel, but also the byproducts. There would be jet fuel. Today, if you want jet fuel, you have to go and look for jet fuel outside. Today, if you want heavy fuels that are used by the mines, you have to go and look for heavy fuels outside. Madam Speaker, you wish to know that if you have to look for kerosene today, paraffin as they call it, you also have to look for paraffin outside. Now, the system that was designed in the past guaranteed us of having all these products just from one sourcing of the commingled fuel that would come through Dar es Salaam. Now, this system, Madam Speaker, enabled us to be in full control of the pricing of our fuel. Because at any given point, Madam Speaker, we will not suffer the shocks in the international market. Because what would happen, like what is happening today, if the kwacha tumbles, we will feel the effect. Because today, we are a hand-to-mouth, country in terms of fuel. At most, Madam Speaker, we are not even having, sufficient stocks to last even, for a month. I stand to be corrected. But the system was designed that will have sufficient stocks that will last for 3 months. At least, Madam Speaker, when the previous government left, they had further established depots that would also guarantee us enough stocks for an extra 3 months, because that was the design. The construction of those storage facilities in provincial centers was to increase our storage capacity from the initial 3 months at Indeni to at least 6 months. Now, what that does, Madam Speaker, it makes you to be in control. Such peradventure, if anything happened, if there was war, you will have sufficient stock, at least for a period that will enable you to look elsewhere for the supplies of your petrol. What lessons are we drawing? Madam Speaker, the irregularities that have been cited in the report, single sourcing. I thought that this government should have drawn lesson from what happened in the past. Why should we today be talking about single sourcing? Because, Madam Speaker, the decision by government to pull out completely from the fuel subsector has seen certain decisions being made, as made in the past. Today we've heard of a decision that was made to single source agrofuel. Madam Speaker, to single source agrofuel. I would have thought that by today, these are lessons that would have drawn from what happened in the past, that we should not repeat the single sourcing of a single supplier of fuel. So, the recommendations of the report that punishment must be meted on those that committed crime in the past, I want to support it. That whoever dipped their fingers in the coffers of government must be punished. But we must also draw lessons that everyone who is going to, or anyone who is going to involve themselves in single sourcing suppliers of fuel, they must equally be punished today. Because what that does is that it deters further or would-be offenders in the same system we are talking about. So, Madam Speaker, what does that Zimbabwean want? You want to rise up?
Honorable Member from Kana. Is that the way you address other honorable members, surely? No, stop threatening him. Okay, can we have some order? We need to be honorable, not only to ourselves, but to not only in the House, but even to each other. As you are debating, and also honorable members, you debate the single sourcing. What does the report say? What was wrong with this particular single sourcing? It's not all the single sourcing, but this particular single sourcing. What was wrong with this one? You may proceed.
Madam Madam Speaker, how I wish you can allow me to read everything. But when we talk about single sourcing, Madam Speaker, it speaks to what happened in the past and what is happening now. I wish that, Madam Speaker, we did not have to engage ourselves in this debate. But let me conclude, Madam Speaker.
You are engaging the debate with who? You are saying with me? Or you are saying you are engaging the debate with the...
No, Madam Speaker, I was thinking that you were trying to engage me.
No, I'm not. I'm guiding you, Honorable Member. I was saying, as you debate single sourcing, address what was wrong with this particular single sourcing. I can't engage you, Honorable Member. I can only guide you to debate in a particular manner and address issues. As I said, this is a technical report. Let's address the issues in the report. You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, the past versus the present. I think that aside the wrongs that have been cited in the report, I've always insisted, and I want to insist now, the policy decisions of the new Dawn government to pull out from the fuel subsector is misplaced. Because it has made us very vulnerable, to the shocks that would come. Number one, because of price fluctuations on the international market. Number two, because of the volatility of our currency against major convertibles. Today, businesses are barely surviving because of lack of planning arising from the monthly reviews of fuel prices, as opposed in the past when reviews were done quarterly.
Your time is
Madam
up,
Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable members, as we debate, I will repeat again. Let's look. This is a technical report. It's a special audit on the procurement of petroleum. And whatever issues have been raised here, audit queries, there is a reason why they have been addressed. Let's address those issues. Let's not make a general debate, because then we will not be within the report. The Honorable Member for Mwandi.
Madam Speaker, thank you so very much for allowing the people of Mwandi through me to debate on this special report. Madam Speaker, let me first indicate that the report that we are looking at today is not different from any other report that we've looked at through the Auditor General's report. Madam Speaker, when you look at this report, it's very, very disheartening. Madam, when you look at this and the figures that are involved, me, I've wondered where people find strength when they come into this parliament to even stand and debate. When you look at the wrongs that were done in the past. Madam Speaker, let me begin also by saying, for those of us that went to school and passed, single sourcing is the kind of procurement that you do, and it's allowable. But there are conditions that have to be met for single sourcing to be done. So single sourcing is not a wrong method of procuring. Only those that you have just read and not understood things say single sourcing is wrong. There are things that for example, emergency supplies. Do you go through and get all the quotations? For example, there's a cholera outbreak. Are you going to go and start looking? You do direct bidding because that is an emergency. So there are conditionalities that have to exist for direct bidding to exist. So you cannot just look at it, like you have to look at it in totality. Madam Speaker, let me come back to the report and talk about failure to settle outstanding bills. Madam Speaker, what name is given to a person who borrows without intention to pay back? I want to be guided. I've received so many names, others are saying scammers, but in laws we say that is thieving, which is bushori. When you borrow, you should have intention to pay back. When you look at these conditions, Madam Speaker, when they were procuring fuel, they had signed that they were going to pay back for the fuel in 120 days, maximum. And they knew, Madam Speaker, that they had no capacity to even pay back this money. But yet they went back and borrowed. And Madam Speaker, they are even indicating that they want to debate. Debate what? They are the ones that have put us in this situation, Madam Speaker. From this report, Madam Speaker, of their failure to pay back the money, the ones that were involved. Madam Speaker, the country is paying in excess of $400 million I wanted to convert this, Madam Speaker, into kwacha, and my calculator has refused. It cannot even pick that amount. It has no capacity to pick how much $400 million is in kwacha. Madam Speaker, in debating this report, Madam Speaker, we are looking forward. This report does not exist in isolation. At the Ministry of Energy, there were people that were signing these contracts, and they are still there. Madam Speaker, these people want them to be brought to book so that it can be. The interest right now, as we are speaking, is bigger than the invoices of the fuel. Madam Speaker, let me move to the density that was being debated technically here. Let me give an example. Let me give an example, You cannot get the upper limit and lose $36 million. That is negligence. Madam Speaker, they also, in this report, when you look at page 5, there was also upfront, pricing. This is like Honorable Kapara. I want Honorable Nkana to understand, because he can understand this properly in maize terms. This is Honorable Mutoro coming to this house and fixing the price for maize for next farming season. Already, you are intelligent than you are, by far.
Order, honorable members. Honorable member Funkana, when you were debating, I think everybody was paying attention. Well, I don't want to send you out because now you are pushing me, honorable member Funkana. We want to finish it. Today is the last day. We want to finish in good books, so that you go rest and visit your constituency in harmony, instead of you being banned from even visiting your constituency. So please, can we have order? May the honorable member for Mwandi continue.
Madam Speaker, I want to assure you that I will not be distracted. I read the report, and I can pride myself that I'm one of those that actually holds the national record in mathematics. So let me continue, Madam Speaker. So when you talk about upfront pricing, fixing the price of maize in advance for the next farming season, and then it says, we are going to buy maize at 360 kwacha, and then the country overproduces, and the maize falls to 180 kwacha. Well, let's us who bought the maize at 380 kwacha. Madam Speaker, that can only be described as witchcraft to the country. Because in this transaction, Madam Speaker, the country has lost so much resource. But like I've indicated, Madam Speaker, there are people that were doing these transactions comfortably seated in these ministries. And we want to see the government of the day, the new Dawn government, going and making sure that the ones that were supplying this, or the ones that were signing this, are brought to book. Madam Speaker, we have also the supply of commingled feedstock by Ganva. They were given a contract. There is a report from Tazama that the commingled feedstock that they were supplying had so much acid levels, therefore there was corrosion. What do? They still go ahead to even increase by $1 million metric tons to the same supplier, Madam Speaker. Not only are we losing, we are also losing equipment that is so expensive for us to maintain. Madam Speaker, those people that we are talking about have also indicated to debate the same report. Madam Speaker, if it was me being put in their position, I would be so ashamed, because they say, I would be so ashamed to come to this house and even speak to these issues. Madam Speaker,
honorable members on the right, you are not exempt from debating while you are seated. Let's just listen to the honorable member of Mwandi.
Madam Speaker, there is also supply of commingled feedstock by Independent Petroleum Group Limited. Madam Speaker, when you read this report, it's very disheartening. The reason why there was this direct bidding, the reason is because there was a contract that was given and government defaulted. Therefore, they wanted to massage the supplier. So in doing so, they do not follow the procedure, and they just direct bid. Is it that part of the conditionalities that exist in the PPA for direct bidding? Is this one of the conditions because you want to massage a supplier? You don't do that. So one of the things that they did, Madam Speaker, and if you look at this is 1.4440 million tons that was given to this supplier to supply, direct bidding without following the procedure. And then, Madam Speaker, in this, you can see that there's wastage of over $484 million. I want you, honorable members, to be able to convert that into kwacha so that you understand the extent that our colleagues went to in defrauding this. That's why we are so much in this debt. Our friends were just as reckless in doing things like you can't possibly imagine. Madam Speaker, in supporting this report, I'm saying we are looking forward to the names being mentioned so that people can be punished. We will see some of them, Madam Speaker. We want to take the energy out. In that said, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Yeah. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me state from the onset that the procurement of petroleum products is influenced by two fundamentals, and the price itself. Madam Speaker, that is the exchange rate and the prices on the international market. Madam Speaker, what a responsible government did was to ensure that they introduced a system that they called the cost plus model. This is a system that put into all the factors, the pricing, insurance, and everything up to Lusaka. And they came up with a price that will actually have positive impact on the citizens. Madam Speaker, the energy sector drives our economy. Any high pricing of fuel, Madam Speaker, negatively impact on our economy, and even the prices of essential commodities, Madam Speaker, go up. Madam Speaker, they did not only end at introducing the cost plus model system, they also went further to introduce the uniform pump price. The people in Inakonde would not only enjoy lower prices because they are in Inakonde where it is near to the port. Even those in Zambia's west have to enjoy lower prices of fuel. In so doing, Madam Speaker, a number of negative factors came in, but at least it worked to the advantage of the Zambian people. Not only that, Madam Speaker, ERB also came up with what they called a trigger point, which helped to stabilize the prices of fuel, Madam Speaker. Today we do not have that trigger point, Madam Speaker. The prices keeps on going up because there is no point at which government can intervene. Madam Speaker, when we are discussing such issues, I would request that we minimize on politicking. This report is not an opportunity for you to present yourself on a podium, a political podium, and do politics. This report is an opportunity for you to talk about things that the Zambian people, that will benefit the Zambian people.
Order, Honorable Member. As you debate, please also refer to the report. Because the issue of trigger point, I don't know, I'm lost, I can't see it myself in the report. What evidence that you were giving that this is what used to happen, it's not in the report. Maybe you can direct us to the report where they say what was being done about the pricing in Inakonde being the same as the one in Zambia's East. Let's stick to the report, Honorable Member. You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I was trying to lay the ground. However, Madam Speaker, if the previous speaker talks about our country having debt arising from the procurement of petroleum products, without substantiating how that debt came about. Madam Speaker, any sovereign debt has to be on the sovereign ledger. Can any one of us in here state which sovereign debt ledger that credit sits on? What I know is that in this report, I will refer to the report, Madam Speaker. What happened was just a medium of procurement where Tazama came up with an escrow account. Madam Speaker, I need your protection. This is a technical subject. Those who think are educated have to listen now to these issues.
Order, honorable members. Let's give him an opportunity. Honorable members, you are protected as long as you keep to the report. When you mention it, said you also tell us the page so that you are on the same page.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand as guided. Madam Speaker, the same Honorable. Madam Speaker, I was talking about the escrow account which was created by a third party. And even when you talk about this state, Madam Speaker, this is why I said this is not an opportunity for us to politicize anything or to politic. Madam Speaker, when we last heard about this debt, it was somewhere around 400 plus million US dollars. Today it's being mentioned at 800 and plus million US dollars. How at reason to that amount? It is there. So, Madam Speaker, this goes to show that, Madam Speaker, I need your protection.
Order, honorable members. Let's allow the honorable member to debate. We don't have the whole day. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for your protection. Madam Speaker, the other issue is that the previous debate I even talked about fuel that was contaminated. Madam Speaker, ERB has a system that they introduced, and that is fuel marking to protect the consumers. Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members, let's have order.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the report is here. I have read the entire report. Even the single sourcing you are talking about, the direct bidding is here on page 22. It's here. It's here. It's here on page 22. And if I can tell you, the ZPPA Act number 8 of 2020 allows for direct bidding. Even single sourcing, and that is what you are using everywhere, and that is what the issue of Manila at FRA comes in, because you single sourced that company. Do I have to remind you even that? No, please allow me to debate.
Let's allow the honorable member to debate. Honorable member, you may, I don't know, you may proceed.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when it comes to the construction of the storage facilities, the reason why...
Honorable member for Mpika, I honor the right, the vice president, I honor the vice president. And now I honor the vice president, yes.
What's the point of order? Madam, I know it is Friday, but I am honestly concerned that we are continuously referring to social media, things that have totally nothing to do with reality. The honorable member is talking about FRA and Manila. Is that a social media issue, or do you have evidence? Because I can tell you that let us be not FRA. The honorable member has read too much social media. Is it in order to jump from one report to something else? Is in order to leave what the report is debating to start talking of other things, Madam?
Thank you very much. It's a Friday and it's the last day. So, honorable member for Mpika, please, as I earlier guided, stick to the report. The issue of food reserve and Manila, they are not in the procurement, this special audit on procurement. So please stick to the report. Let's not bring social media. I'm sure when you woke up today, when you were reading this report, you planned that you are going to debate. So as you debated, you should have carried with you the evidence that you are going to rely on, which you are going to lay on the table of the House. Your fellow honorable member for Nakonde, I'm still waiting for the evidence. You see, let's observe the standing orders, otherwise we are just throwing ourselves in unnecessary trouble. May the honorable member continue as guided.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for your guidance. Madam Speaker, sorry for having veered off a little bit. I was trying to, colleagues of mine were continuously passing running comment, trying to challenge my debate. Madam Speaker.
Just ignore them, just concentrate on your debate.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the construction of strategic reserves were as a result of an initiative to try and stabilize the prices. Instead of reviewing the prices every month, government then decided to construct strategic reserves where fuel products imported this month would be stored even up to the period of 6 months, so that up to that period the price of fuel is stabilized. And government even introduced the strategic reserve fund. The same fund, Madam Speaker, which in this report I have not heard about. Yet ERB most recently announced to have depleted that fund. Where has the fund gone, Madam Speaker? It is on page, the former energy minister knows this report, it's on page, this is page 17. Page 17, Madam Speaker, that's where this fund has been talked about. Madam Speaker, when I saw that this report would be coming, I thought the committee would make serious recommendations on how the prices of petroleum products in our country could be reduced, even without talking so much about some of the irregularities. Madam Speaker, the conversation should also, much as I support the fishing out of the people involved in these irregularities, but the conversation also should be on how we reduce the price of fuel. In 2 years, 8 months, Madam Speaker, the price of fuel has tripled.
Now you are going off the report, and on page 17 there is nothing about a fund. It's talking about failure to recover debts. Tazama Petroleum Products Limited Committee. There is nothing about a fund there. You can wind up, Honorable Member.
Oh, sorry, Madam Speaker, it's page 19. Page 19 here. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Indeed, it's been a challenge debating this report because of the running comments by those who are prepared to come and politic. But we have reminded them this is not the time to politic. When a liter of fuel is costing 32 kwacha, 33 kwacha, 35 kwacha, this is not time to politic. This time is for solutions, Madam Speaker, so that the price is reduced and we question on the impact on our people. Madam Speaker, I call the Minister of Energy to reintroduce subsidies so that the prices of fuel goes down, Madam Speaker. Our people can enjoy low prices of essential commodities if that was implemented. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The issue of subsidies is not in the report, so I don't know who is politicking now. Honorable members, let's make progress. The honorable member for Bwana Mkubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the chairman of the committee who has ably moved this motion, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member from Pika, please, can you take your seat and wait for others to respond to what you were saying? No,
thank you.
Just wait. Honorable member for Rumezi, also take your seat. May the honorable member for Bwana Mkubwa continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this report has brought out a lot of issues, and I sat here, Madam Speaker, listening to some of the colleagues debating and saying this report is highly technical, but they didn't bring any technical aspect to the floor of this House. Because, Madam Speaker, first and foremost, when you look at the standard procedure, when you are calculating fuel, either fuel delivered to your filling station, if the truckers come, you let it settle because of density issues. That's how you come up with the accurate calculation of what has been delivered. It's the same which applies to this issue we are discussing on the issue of density, where you cannot have a fixed density for calculation of fuel.
Honourable Member for Bwanamkubwa, there is an indication from the Honourable Member for Lumezi for a point of order. Honourable Members, before the Honourable Member for Lumezi comes in, we don't have much time. We need to go through the business. So this will be the last point of order that I'm going to allow. The Honourable Member for Lumezi.
It's a privilege, Madam Speaker, that consistently I'm the last one to raise a point of order. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, I raise this point of order, Standing Order 70, on the current member, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Bwanamkubwa, who happens to be the PAC chairperson, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is of public knowledge that...
Sorry, before you proceed, Honourable Member, so that I understand, Standing Order 70 is talking about personal explanation.
Yes. 71. Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Okay, proceed.
Madam Speaker, as much as many members have mentioned that this is a technical report, in one way or the other, there is a company there named Kapesika. Madam Speaker, this name Kapesika is not new in this House. It has been mentioned for the last 2 years. And the Honourable Member should have declared interest, Madam Speaker. He may not give us factual information on this report, Madam Speaker. I submit and I seek your indulgence.
The Honourable Member, we are not discussing individual companies or individuals. We are discussing a report. And it has not been brought to our attention that this Kapesika has anything to do with any particular Honourable Member for Lumezi has got evidence. Please lay it on the table so that we can ask the Honourable Member for Bwanamkubwa to recuse himself. If the Honourable Member doesn't have the evidence which he can lay on the table, then the Honourable Member for Bwanamkubwa can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the level of pettiness.
Honourable Member for Lumezi.
Can you sit down?
Take your seat, please, Honourable Member. You will go later. We need your attendance.
Madam Speaker, if you go to PACRA, you can request information for beneficiaries of a company as well as shareholders for free. So the Honourable Member should proceed, even now, and go and bring that information to the floor of this House. Otherwise, that's just being malicious. But however, Madam Speaker, let me proceed with my debate. Madam Speaker, I was talking about density because the level of madness which has come from how people were conducting business in that particular ministry cannot be condoned, Madam Speaker. We are very much aware, Madam Speaker, I come from Undola.
Maybe the use of the word madness, I don't know, maybe you can use another.
Madam Speaker, let me withdraw the word madness, but insanity. The level of insanity is disheartening, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, if I look at the level, if you look at density, I think I've already explained how density works in fuel. Madam Speaker, this is an industry I've taken keen interest, and coming from the Copper Belt, especially in Ndola, Tazama, and Indeni being in my constituency, I do understand. the dynamics. So, Madam Speaker, the two queries, initially government lost $70 million due to issues of density. And these are some of the issues our officers, such as the Director of Energy at the Ministry of Energy, should take in interest. Because density can deviate looking at the tonnage. If we are looking at 100,000 metric tons and we've got deviation on density, we are going to lose colossal sums of money. So these are some of the issues which I would say were done with impunity, because these are some of the issues which need to be kept. When you are coming up with contracts, you need to look at these issues. When you run a filling station, you need to look at density. When you run a depot, you need to look at density. So this is a primary objective, a primary issue which we cannot overlook when you are dealing with issues of fuel. Madam Speaker, I'll proceed to also just highlight on issues which were mentioned by Honorable Kapyanga on the issue of uniform price. Why do you have uniform price? Because fuel was subsidized. And where has the subsidies taken us? Huge debt. We go and construct 6 depots, Mansa, Mongu, Solwezi, and Lusaka, and Chipata. Mansa is a white elephant. Why? Because when you are pricing fuel, we price according to Platts, and this fluctuates from time to time. So if you cannot subsidize the fuel, then you cannot have uniform price. It's simple and straightforward. Because fuel, we don't produce fuel. We have to look at the producers from the OPEC countries. We have to look at Platts, which is priced worldwide. So these are some of the issues, the technicalities we're talking about, where you cannot just come here and bring up a debate without understanding the dynamics of fuel. Madam Speaker, let me proceed to commingled product. Why, Madam Speaker, I mentioned insanity, why I mentioned the other issue, the other word which you said I should withdraw. If you look at Ganvo, the first supplier for commingled product, to Indeni, to be refined at Indeni, the government further Speaker goes to IPG. IPG again, there's a dispute, government loses $7 million. You go again and contract Sahara Resources Energy for the same commingled product. Again, you lose $20 million. That's insanity. Because you cannot use the same method to do 3 things and still get a wrong result. Then there's madness. Sorry, insanity. I withdraw the word madness, Madam Speaker. That is insanity. This is not money from someone's pocket, Madam Speaker. This is money, taxpayers' money for the Zambian people. We ought to be prudent when we are appropriating funds which belong to the public. Madam Speaker, let me proceed to go to Tazama. Tazama gives credit facility to local companies through the Ministry of Finance to get fuel for 30 days and then pay later. A very good facility. It is heavily abused. I don't know if they're not looking at their debtor's age analysis, because you should look to say, this guy is now at 120, this is at 60, this we cannot give him, but we continue giving government fuel at taxpayers' expense. Then now we are standing at 344 million debt, which we don't know if we are going to collect. So these are some of the misgivings, Madam Speaker. If our time is going to dwell on more facts, because this industry, I understand it. That's why we're saying those who don't know, you should keep quiet and listen. Madam Speaker, these are some of the issues we need moving forward. What have we learned from the past? And these are some of the misgivings, and those people who are talking about, Madam Speaker, are still in this country. We need to ensure that they are taken to task they account for their misgivings to ensure that, because some of these debts, Madam Speaker, even our children will continue to pay for them. Are we doing justice? Is that sustainable? That's not sustainable, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this report has highlighted pertinent, important issues which should be taken by the investigative wings to ensure that those who misconducted themselves, they are brought to book, Madam Speaker, without any element of doubt, like Honorable Minister of Internal Security says. They should be taken to book, Madam Speaker. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I have revisited my earlier decision to allow 3 members from each. I will allow 2 now, looking at the time. So the next will be the Honorable Member for Mwembeji. So for the independents, you are done. So Honorable Member for Mwembeji, and then you'll be followed by the Honorable Member for Kaumbwe. Before we proceed, Honorable Member for Shuangandu is in the house. Who logged in for him? Who logged in for Honorable Member for Shuangandu? Because he was never on the list. Who logged in? At what time did he log in? These are the practices that are not allowed. Is it witchcraft or what? The Honorable Member for Mwembeji.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to add a few words to this report. When I read through the report, my heart was actually bleeding. Madam Speaker, from the inception, we have noted that the landing cost for this fuel, which was coming into the country, was actually always different from the cost which was given by ERB. Madam Speaker, how I wished that this report, if it was possible, the companies which are named in this report, the names of the owners could also be published, because it's highly questionable that you can put a price today that your fuel is going to land at so much. After 2 weeks, you find that the company comes back and says that the price which you had given us is actually less, we are quoting more money. Madam Speaker, where on earth do you find a situation where when the fuel is coming, someone is determining the price higher than what you had actually put? It showed that these people were actually colluding with the people who are working in the ministry. And then you are paid for that. That was very sad, Madam Speaker. I can say that, Madam Speaker, with this type of arrangement, which was actually happening, this report must be published in all the 9-10 provinces of our country, so that people can see what we are actually getting from a roll due from people who are running the country. Madam Speaker, let me look at the idea of bringing subsidies, because I want the common Zambian to understand. I hear you are saying technical. We want to bring something which people can understand.
Honorable Member for Shuangandu, you've just come in and have earlier ruled that there will be no points of order. Looking at the time, we are running behind time. That is what under the bridge now. The Honorable Member for Lumezi said that he accidentally pressed on your gadget, unless if you are saying that he was lying. Oh, he was not being truthful, sorry.
Which one, Madam?
That's
why we can utilize, Madam Speaker, Standing Order 70.
No, Honorable.
It's here for a purpose, Madam Speaker.
No, we don't have enough time. At least you can go and walk around. I'm seated here from 14:30. We need to make progress. May we allow the Honorable Member for Mwembeji to continue?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the landing cost which is being depicted in this report shows that whenever this commodity arrives in Zambia, there was a saying that the rendering cost was actually higher than what was pegged by ERB. What type of arrangement is that? How can you bring fuel? You agree that the fuel is going to be costing at 1,000 kwacha. When it arrives in Zambia, you are saying it is going to cost 1,500, and you want to justify the cost by actually paying back that money. Madam Speaker, for your own information, 3/4 of these oil marketing companies who are dealing with this business, if they are going to bring the names, you are going to be shocked who the owners of these companies are. It's people like you are stealing from your own home, Madam Speaker. You go and get money from your own home and thinking that you are so clever by stealing from this pocket, taking to this pocket. What was happening is actually erroneous. And it is putting our children into a lot of debt which we are going to pay, over 896 million US dollars. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that this report is a good report for the people of Zambia, so that they can know that these people who are talking about higher prices now, they should know that we are actually in debt, over 800 million, because of what they are thinking is the best which they are using. Meanwhile, we are not incurring any debt. Madam Speaker, let me go further into this report. I think the issue of subsidies must be actually explained here. Why was the government being forced or coerced to be paying money to these oil marketing companies? I want to think, Madam Speaker, according to this report, if you look at these companies, each company has got a lot of money owing to them. Who are they? It seems the people who are working in ERB were actually conniving with these people that they can make money and extort the government. Madam Speaker, it's very sad. I want to say that one of the few things which are actually happening, or which used to happen, is that these oil marketing companies, if you look at the money which they are being owed, this money is like someone conniving that, let's agree that you bring the product at so much amount, me I'm going to give you over and above so much account, so that the government is actually indebted. Why should we allow government to be actually accruing so much debt when there are technocrats in this ministry? And you are saying this is the technical report with technical people seated in the ministry accruing such type of debt. Madam Speaker, me in my own view, this report must be taken to law enforcing people so that the people must be actually taken care of. And they shouldn't be allowed to be coming into parliament, seated here debating so freely, saying that the cost of fuel is actually high, when in fact we've got too much debt as a government. Madam Speaker, I don't want to waste so much time, but what I can say is that this report brings a sad reading to the people of Zambia. I can say that this government which was there had put us in so much debt such that up to now we are thinking our children are going to incur seated on debt which we cannot actually pay. These people must be brought to book. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to allow me to say something on this report. From the report, what motivated the audit is the prices for on page. This is page 1. On page 1, the method of petroleum products in the country was using the cost plus pricing model. The cost plus pricing model is incorporating all the costs involved in the procurement process: transportation, processing, and until the fuel lands. And now the cost of procuring this fuel is covered in by the revenue that government collects through selling of the products to oil marketing companies. And the price was determined by ERB. This is on page 1. ERB determination problem number one, what that motivated the audit was that the ERB prices were lower than the landed cost prices that were tabled in the contracts due to price differentials and exchange rate fluctuation. Now, going into individual contracts. On page 2, the overstatement of invoices on density factors, it has already been said several times, but this contract was signed and the contract clause stated that the price shall be determined over a range of densities from 0.71 to 0.785. For petrol and diesel, from 0.82 to 0.88. This was a contract signed between Ministry of Energy and the supplier. Now, when the auditors carried out an audit, they discovered that the supplier used the upper limit of the range to determine the price, because using the upper limit, it means that you have more volume of fuel, the quantity increases, and that meant that government had to lose 36,373,827 US dollars on this particular contract. Another contract on page 3, loss of funds due to questionable contract clauses. It is almost the same, going through the same densities issues, and the loss on this particular one was 34 million US dollars, 34,349,962. Going to page 4, failure to settle outstanding bills. The fuel was supplied, but then there were no funds, no money to fund, no money to pay. And this led into contracts being charged. You have late payments. Due to late payments, there are interest charges. And these interest charges made actually the government to lose almost 50.3% of the initial contractual obligations of the fuel contracts. I echo, the people of Kaumwe echo the sentiments, just like everybody else has debated, that this report, it should be taken seriously to the anti-corruption or enforcement agencies to actually investigate and reach each logical conclusion. Anybody involved in the embezzlement of these funds through mismanagement of through contract mismanagement or wrongly application of the contract clauses must be brought to book. This government has promised the people of Zambia corruption shall be fought before, now, and the future. We want to see results to come out from this kind of embezzlement or this kind of corruption that we can see. I cannot call it corruption, but in the sense that because some of the things that are highlighted in the report, they are very technical. They would go for negotiations because the contractors, the suppliers signed these contracts, and these contract clauses were binding. So at the time that when you go to negotiate that we need to use a lower density than the upper density, but the contractor or the supplier will look at the contract, what was binding in the contract. And there's even an example somewhere where government lost a case in London because this contractor, this supplier, took the matter to court for arbitration. And we lost almost 20 million US dollars through that court process because of the contract clauses that were binding. So from the lessons that we can learn from this going forward is that there's need to have harmonization, integration between the Ministry of Energy, Attorney General Office, and ZPPA. Because when a contract is being floated, what is signed is binding. And you come to realize later that this clause disadvantaged government by giving a range, and the contractor, or rather the supplier, took the upper range. Therefore, government is going to waste a lot of money to pay because it took the upper range. That is not an issue. That is not a case that we can win in a court of law when the supplier takes it for arbitration. So we have witnessed that also from the conclusions of the report, or the last page, the committee calls for the contents of the special audit report in the thoroughly examined and forwarded to law enforcement agencies so that those found accountable may be prosecuted. We really want to see this to be taken seriously so that Zambians, because during this period that the audit was undertaken from 2019 to 2022, the cost of fuel was affordable to the Zambian people. It was around 17 kwacha, 20 kwacha. Now, this time it is 33 kwacha. We want to see that
Thank you,
results
Honorable Member. Your time is up.
Logical. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's make progress. The Honorable Minister of Energy responding.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me mention just on the onset that these legacy issues, when they are coming in the negative, it gives someone, a bleeding heart. But we want to state that as the New Dawn administration, we are committed to abide ourselves to the laws of this country. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for the most sincerely time that you have allowed me to give the remarks on the report of the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of the petroleum products from 1st January 2019 to the 31st December 2022. Madam Speaker, I truly appreciate the committee's work done in their review of the Auditor General's findings on the following issues, among others: 1, lack of due diligence on suppliers. My ministry regrets to inform this august House that due diligence was not conducted on both Maritekers LLC and Maritekers Zambia. Madam Speaker, the procurement of petroleum products, the due diligence, which was not taken by our staff, ended up costing the government. And as I was listening from our fellow debaters, honorable members, I was very shocked to hear someone saying we don't know how we moved from $400 million to $876 million. These are the facts and information that we are saying due diligence
was supposed to be conducted. That's what the law requires. And Madam Speaker, I want to state that going forward, my ministry shall ensure that due diligence is conducted before entering into contracts. With any supplier, before any contract is signed, due diligence information must be supplied. Further, Madam Speaker, the House may wish to note that our ministry, like I've stated, that going forward, will be requesting performance bonds from onset to the suppliers to mitigate the risks associated with non-performance. Number two issue that has been raised with your committee, Madam Speaker, is overstated invoices. I have also noted, Madam Speaker, that areas that appeared that the suppliers could not have been overpaid in view of the contracts and having had interests, I have directed my ministry to conduct serious reconciliation in relation to the interest that we have accrued. And when we get these reconciliation statements, we'll submit the report or the information to the Ministry of Justice to take for further steps. Madam Speaker, also on the terms and the condition in terms of contract management, I also wish to inform this House that prior to 2021, contract design was inconsistent and contained contradictory clauses that disadvantaged government. And I wish to hasten and mention that the aspect of contract management requires urgent strengthening rules, which my ministry over the last few months have now spearheaded in this direction. For example, all these transactions of contract management were being done without legal minds. And now my ministry has deployed a legal officer who is going to help us to apply and see how we are going to manage these contracts going forward. And the officer will be responsible to be advising the government on legal issues than the way these contracts were being managed in the past. Madam Speaker, further, the ministry has identified the need for our staff, because this is a ministry which is very sensitive, which drives our economy. So we have to make sure that measures are put in place to mitigate these challenges that we are going through. We have identified that all our staff involved must be given the necessary training in contract design. And also it has taken initiative to train procurement officers in order to build capacity, Madam Speaker. Because we have seen that a number of these irregularities that we have seen in these transactions, some are because of incompetence. And Madam Speaker, going forward on the direct bid, where some other people are saying single sourcing is wrong. It's not wrong, it's backed by the law. What was missing is following the laid down procedures. And Madam Speaker, it is regrettable that some of the instances, the ministry engaged in direct bidding for contracts. I wish to inform this House that the administration under His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is committed in ensuring that procurement processes are undertaken in an efficient manner at the right time, at the right price, right quality, and that delivery is timely. This also entails that, Madam Speaker, ensuring that all alternative procurement options are exhausted before going direct bidding. This is what we have put in place to mitigate these risks that we have been subjected to. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I want to state that the issue raised by the committee, your committee, were well noted, and other recommendations that the committee has stated have been well noted, and the ministry will address them accordingly. It is regrettable that in some instances, anomalies that have been occurred. However, we wish to inform you, the House, that the new Dawn administration has already shown the commitment and will ensure efficiency in all government transactions by implementing appropriate measures to remedy the solution by adhering to the laid down procedures going forward. Madam Speaker.
May you wind up, Honorable Minister?
Madam Speaker, I want to state also that even when I see our fellow colleagues from the other side standing up talking about corruption, I think this is where they are supposed to understand that they must feel shame on some of the transactions that were conducted in the past. I think people have to learn and feel shy from some of these transactions.
Honorable Minister, your time is up. Your time is up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But I want to emphasize, Madam Speaker, that all these things that have been done in bad faith, we should learn to feel shame and appreciate others that are doing the best to help this country move forward. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Sesheke, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, I wish to make it very clear, explicitly clear, that Article 62, reading together with Article 80 of the Zambian Constitution, Article 62 establishes Parliament. Article 80 is the formation of parliamentary committees, of which, under Article 80, the Committee of Energy, Water Development and Tourism was established to perform other functions other than legislation, but inspectorate role, which my colleague, the Vice Chairman, is part to. It is very important to note and realize that a report of a committee even when it's against your by your report. I needed to make that clear. The public wishes report and there would be people that would want to sabotage the state. So I want to make it clear that the new to ensuring that gives us a public funds should be brought to book. Our recommendation still stands. And the Auditor General is just a whistleblower. The Auditor General should be commended for the good job that they've done. And you may wish to know, Madam Speaker, that this Auditor General's report, started in 2019 but was stopped by who? I don't know. But I know. It was by the administration at the time that stopped it. So when we say the Auditor General's report should be done per annum ABCD, of course, that should be the case. But this particular one was started but stopped. Why? I don't know. And we should be happy that the current Auditor General, the gentleman who is there, has taken interest in ensuring that he brings to light these kind of embezzlement. Today the country is grappling with 876 million US dollars. Had this report issued at the time, maybe, only maybe, we would have managed to put a blocker to this kind of heinous embezzlement that was there. Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I want to thank all the debaters that supported this report. And I want them to join me in calling the law enforcement agencies to ensure that these colleagues, these companies, the owners of these companies, some of whom were subpoenaed but have refused to come. You can imagine. Were subpoenaed but refused to come. What is the law enforcement doing? Can we nail these people? Can we nail them? We have the apparatus to ensure that whoever that embezzles public funds should be brought to book. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 1st August 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. I see that is 1646. We still have a lot of work to do. We can either continue and those members, honorable members, want to go and have some tea or stretch themselves, they can take some time out. Let's just make sure that we maintain the quorum, or we can break for tea. So which one is it? We continue? Okay, so we continue. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
The Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, committee stage.
The House will now resolve into committee.
Yeah, we don't have.
The Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024. Clause 1, short title, any debate, any objection? Clause 1 is agreed to. Clause 2, interpretation, any debate, any objection? Clause 2 is agreed to. Clause 3, Kazungula Bridge Authority, any debate, any objection? Clause 3 is agreed to. Clause 4, Council of Ministers, any debate, any objection? Clause 4 is agreed to. Clause 5, agreement to bind Republic, any debate, any objection? Clause 5 is agreed to. Clause, schedule on page 7, any debate, any objection? Schedule on page 7 is agreed to. Long title, any debate, any objection? Long title is agreed to. The bill will be reported to the House having passed through the committee without amendment. Madam Speaker, I have to report to the House that the Committee of the Whole House has gone through the Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024 without amendment.
Day for third reading.
Now, Madam Speaker.
Third reading of the bill to be taken now. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read the third time.
The question is that the bill be now read the third time. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. Let the bill be read the third time.
The Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024.
Notes of motion. Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House places on record its thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House.
Order. The question is that this House places on record its thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House. Any debate? Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, the National Assembly of Zambia was greatly honored to host His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, who addressed the House earlier today. Madam Speaker, the address covered a number of important issues of common interest to both the people of Burundi and Zambia. In this regard, allow me to highlight a few pertinent issues on the bilateral relations between the Republic of Burundi and Zambia. Madam Speaker, Zambia and Burundi maintain bilateral relations that are characterized by diplomatic engagement, economic cooperation, and mutual support in regional and international forums. The mutual cooperation between the two countries has grown over the years. Through high-level visits and continuous political dialogue, Zambia and Burundi have strengthened their political engagement. The collaboration of the two countries within regional organizations such as COMESA and the African Union has also been pivotal in addressing regional challenges and promoting peace and security. Madam Speaker, the commitment to strengthening bilateral ties and cooperation between the two countries was reaffirmed at the 5th session of the Zambia-Burundi Joint Permanent Commission, JPC, of cooperation, which took place from 12th to 14th June 2024 in Lusaka. The House may wish to note that the JPC was aimed at reviewing and strengthening cooperation between the two countries in areas such as mining, agriculture, and fisheries, green economy and environment, tourism, trade, customs and defense and security. Other areas include immigration, transport, water development, education, science, youth and sport, and gender. In this regard, the two countries signed 5 agreements, namely General Cooperation Agreement, Memorandum of Understanding on Diplomatic and Political Consultations, Memorandum of Understanding on Gender and Women Empowerment, Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation between the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, and the Burundi Agency of Development, and the Agreement on Visa Waiver for holders of diplomatic passports. Madam Speaker, the signing of these agreements is a clear demonstration of the continued growth of the bilateral relations between Zambia and Burundi. I therefore urge both Zambia and Burundi to fully implement the signed agreements for the mutual benefit of the two countries. It was therefore gratifying, Madam Speaker, to hear the President of Burundi extending an invitation to Zambian businesses to explore the business opportunities in Burundi, which are vast and ready for investment, since Burundi is still virgin for business opportunities. Madam Speaker, let me now highlight a few things that the President of Burundi spoke about in the House this morning. The President held the relations between the two countries anchored on the shared values of peace, solidarity, and democracy. We should all endeavor to build up on this foundation for the benefit of the people of the two countries and indeed our neighbors. Madam Speaker, His Excellency Ndayishimiye also appreciated Zambia's contribution to the promotion of peace and security in the Democratic Republic of Congo through the SADC. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the new Dawn government is committed to supporting peace efforts, not only in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but anywhere where there is instability. Madam Speaker, the President also spoke about the need to strengthen the relations between the two countries at parliamentary level. It is my hope that going forward, the parliaments of Burundi and Zambia will forge closer ties through benchmarking visits to learn from one another the best practices in parliamentary practice and procedure. Madam Speaker, it was gratifying to learn from President Ndayishimiye
that our long-cherished One Zambia, One Nation motto is inspirational to the rest of the African continent. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to place on record my sincere gratitude for this historical moment of having received His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, to this august House, and for his generous gesture of solidarity to offer Zambia 5,000 metric tons of maize, rice, and beans to mitigate the devastating effects of the drought on our people. I therefore implore the House to deliberate on the issues raised that affect our work as parliamentarians and also that are of international importance. Finally, Madam Speaker, I wish to reiterate the Government of the Republic of Zambia's continued commitment to further develop cooperation between Zambia and Burundi in various sectors and at different levels. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. From the indications, we have 11 honorable members who have indicated. If we add honorable ministers, we need 1 hour 30 minutes. So we can do it in this way. Either we allow members to debate for 4 minutes, then we cut on time, or we'll go through the list. I will choose some people who will not debate because I have to manage time. So it's democracy now at play. 4 minutes? 3 minutes? Okay, 4 minutes. Then please set the clock at 4 minutes. We start with the honorable member for Mitete.
4 minutes. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. The tail end spoke on the president from Burundi said, as a neighbor, they have learned of the drought. And the gesture of solidarity. He then mentioned Ubuntu, a philosophy that speaks of respect of human dignity, compassion, solidarity, and conscience. Being self through others. Then some people here, some of your honorable members, took that for a joke, for a ride. A guest, a visitor comes into your home, having learned a disaster in your country. Madam Speaker, likaze chwalo aliswani likubanga chwalo. Meaning, we shouldn't be tolerating such behavior. When a high-profile visitor decides to visit you and share into your problems, the president categorically said, we are donating from the bottom of our hearts. Then in here, some of your members said, we went to beg. Don't do that. But I'm alive to the fact that maybe they would have been so happy to see Zambians dying with hunger, because they have been coming on the floor of this house indicating there's someone dying with hunger. Maybe again out of that, the president of Burundi rent, and then you come and akadabra. What type of a people are they? This gesture is highly, highly appreciated, because it's one nation, one Africa. If it was from the Western countries, maybe some people would also have. What's wrong? He said these boundaries are just there, they're just lines. And when you looked at him, he was just one of us. So what was so sinister, colleagues, when such a gesture, olive hand, is spread onto you? Munoitumelanga. Madam Speaker, allow me end there. But we are happy, Madam Vice President. If those do not want, bring all the food to Mitete. To Mitete. Bring the rice to Mitete. Bring the beans to Mitete. And the other gesture from Tanzania. That's how it is. Who is your neighbor? Your neighbor is he that extends a hand of help. And His Excellency, the President of Burundi, has done just that. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangando.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And indeed, I would like to also press it on record that it was interesting to host His Excellency the President from the Republic of Burundi this morning. And I will make very brief comments. One of them is basically to acknowledge his update regarding the stability of Burundi as a nation now. And he assured us that now Burundi is a reconciled nation and the doctrine of separation of powers is in place. He talked about how the legislature, the executive, and indeed the judiciary have now established these institutions as a way of governing the people of Burundi. Madam Speaker, Burundi has been a troubled nation for some time, and here in Zambia we host some of our brothers and sisters who were displaced from that nation, running away from the instability that took center stage of that nation. And so to hear that update from the President was indeed refreshing. Madam Speaker, yes, when gestures are being extended to you, it's important to appreciate and acknowledge. And yes, the President did mention that they were extending some gifts in form of some beans that will go to ameliorate the challenges of food insecurity that we have ended up in. However, Madam Speaker, we must be clear as a people, because where I come from, Madam Speaker, of course I heard my colleague using terms that he was not interpreting. We have been taught that in Sala Nindi Minwa Tempulilwa Iyo. So meaning you cannot depend on handouts to survive and to sustain yourself. It's good to receive. What is even interesting, Madam Speaker, is the other gesture we received, of course, from the other nation next to Burundi. The other day, and we saw our honor, the Vice President, our mother, receiving that, I don't know if it was 1,000 metric tons of maize. But at the same time, we had the ambassador announcing that they are very happy that we have given them 10,000 hectares of land. So you start doubting such kind of gifts, whether the gifts are coming from bottom of the heart or they are coming with conditions and expecting something in return. Our honor is there, our mother is there. And I think she was also shocked to hear that pronouncement because she wasn't aware. She was receiving a gift and the person who was giving the gift says, we are also happy to receive 10,000 hectares of land. So you start wondering, so gifts that are well meant, genuine, we appreciate. But certainly we are not going to sit back and start giving away our land where we should produce the same food that's being given to us as gestures. We can feed. We have always fed ourselves here over the years. I don't think we should consign ourselves to beggars. That will not be the desirable thing to do as a nation. Some of the situations we have ended up with are self-induced.
Order, Honorable Member.
Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Up. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Luena.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to also add a few words in appreciation of the address by His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, the President of the Republic of Burundi, who blessed us with his presence this morning. Indeed, as the people of Zambia, we are happy to see this increased interaction between our country, our government, and other countries, especially our sister countries in the region. And so we are appreciative of the visit. And we wish His Excellency a pleasant stay and also a safe trip back home when his business in Zambia is done. Madam Speaker, in the speech of His Excellency this morning, he made reference to his memory of our former president and founding father of this country, President Kenneth Kaunda, that when he went to visit Burundi, the current president, as a youngster then, was reminiscing that they were taught and made to repeat the words, one Burundi, one nation. One nation, one people, one leader, which is something that was very, very synonymous with Zambia at that time, this slogan. Madam Speaker, I just want to briefly talk about this issue of us being one people. Madam Speaker, our founding fathers made us to understand that we are one people indeed, and that a language that one speaks should never be mistaken for one's identity. And so one is forced to ask, where is the spirit of tribalism that some of our colleagues want to throw in every incident that happens in this country coming from? Madam Speaker, today we are just reuniting ourselves as a nation because we were headed in the direction that got Burundi to experience the turmoil that it went through. A direction of not accepting to live as one people simply because you don't speak the same language. And Zambia, having had the blessings of escaping such calamities, it is the duty of every one of us, especially as the people's representative in this august house, to ensure that not a slight window will be opened for such a situation to occur in Zambia. And therefore, it's a challenge, Madam Speaker, that the President in his address threw to all of us, that we should treasure unity, because without it, there cannot be development to talk about. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I want to appreciate the gift from Burundi. I know that some people would want to suggest that if you think you are a rich man, poor people that come to mourn with you at your funeral should not come with any gifts. And that's un-Zambian, Madam Speaker. It's un-Zambian. In Zambia, we know that visitors go and visit carrying a little bit of cassava here, a little bit of beans there. Why should we ridicule the gift from our sisters and brothers in Burundi, Madam Speaker? I hope today is the last time that the people of Zambia would see us being so unappreciative of such an African spirit from a sister nation. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Sorry, I even forgot the time. Your time is up. The honorable member from Frira.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to also contribute to this motion. Indeed, the President of Burundi, it was very nice to host him here in this Parliament and generally in this country. He spoke about the unity of Africa. He spoke about the unity within the African countries. And I think having him, who is obviously one of us by virtue of being an African, it was very good that we are promoting good relations among African countries. And Madam Speaker, of course, he also announced the gesture that they are giving to this country 5,000 tons of maize, rice, and beans. Madam Speaker, I was looking just at the statistics of that country compared to ours. It's a country of 13 million people and a geographic size of 27,000 square kilometers, which is almost like the size of the Copper Belt province, or slightly bigger than the province of Lusaka. Madam Speaker, of course we are receiving all these food donations because of the drought, partial drought that we had in this country, which has affected the food security of the whole country. Madam Speaker, yes, partial, because not the whole country was affected by the poor rains. That is why we are only talking about 84 districts affected by the drought. So it's very true. Madam Speaker, the food that, the 5,000 tons that Burundi has donated, if we managed our agricultural policy very well, we could actually grow that food in one province. And I hope that this coming farming season, the Minister of Agriculture with the Ministry of Green Economy are going to make use of meteorological information so that we know the rains that we are heading into. Where are we going to have good rains? Where are we going to have bad rains? Our meteorological department should be able to help us if we anticipate a drought, which region, so that we focus the distribution of agricultural inputs, farming inputs into the areas where we are going to have normal rainfall. Because sometimes it's not just a drought, Madam Speaker, even floods damage the crops. So we need that information so that the 5,000 tons of maize, rice, and beans that are going to come from Burundi, we can actually grow them from the area that we should predict to going to have good rains. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, I think that all of us, in one or another, have interacted with the Burundi nationals living in this country. Most of them actually have shops in various townships. And these shops run by Burundians sometimes have been a source of unrest in the country, where people violently start attacking them, breaking into their shops, accusing them of all sorts of things. The Minister of Home Affairs, I think it would be good that these relations must also translate into good neighborhood Indians within our community are rightly in this country must be given proper trading permits so that they do not trade in fear that waking up in the morning people will ransack their shop accusing them of all sorts of things. Must be protected so that they could freely do their trade to reciprocate the good gesture that the country of Burundi has done. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in summary of what the presidential speech, which was delivered today by the President of the Republic of Burundi, what the people of Sinazongwe have learned, Madam Speaker, is that we as Zambians don't really give proper credit to the founding fathers or mothers of this country. The president, the first Republican president, President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, is highly respected or remembered in the surrounding countries compared to how we treasure him here. So the status quo, Madam Speaker, I believe it has to change because President Kaunda, with his cabinet, never just fought for the well-being of Zambia, they fought for the well-being of the entire region. Therefore, it is important that as a country where the president came from, we have to show to the outside world that indeed President Kenneth Kaunda deserves much more respect. Madam Speaker, what the people of Sinazongo have learned from the Republican president of Burundi was that indeed we are in a global village. Sinazongwe was badly hit by the drought. Here comes a good neighbor who has decided to reach out to the great people of Zambia so that at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, the people of Zambia will have something to lean on. Indeed, this entails, Madam Speaker, that even us, when God will reward us better, we have to look at our neighbors without calling them names. Tomorrow we have enough, 2025 we have enough harvest, Madam Speaker. A neighboring country doesn't have enough harvest. We need as a country to reciprocate and reach out to our neighbor. No man is an island. No country can sustain itself without its neighbors. Indeed, the speech by the president, it was very, very touching. And especially when he said, what we are giving as the people of Burundi, the 5,000 metric tons of food stuff that we are giving is coming from deep down our hearts. That to me, it meant a lot. It meant that if they had a lot, they would have done more. Now they are giving according to what they have. So we are not going to look at the geographical size of Burundi. We have to appreciate that this gift that they have given us is coming from deep down the People's Republic of Burundi's heart. So we need to appreciate and coexist as brothers and sisters. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I do support the President's speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chembe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, to give the people of Chembe to say a few words on this presidential speech from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Burundi. Madam Speaker, as a starting point, I will go to page 7 of his speech, where he says, we really need the political and economic independence of the continent. To this end, we may cry against interference from external actors, but from the moment we are not able to take charge of the essential needs of our common organization, the African continent. Going down there, he also says, who pays, controls. Madam Speaker, it is on that score that I want to say this. Now, where does our continent as Africa draws the power? Africa in general draws the power from its natural resources at present. Now, what are we doing in general as Africa to harness this power that we have in form of our natural resources? What laws, do we have sufficient laws to harness our natural resources? What laws are there at continental level? And what laws are there at global level to harness our power? Failure to which, if the laws are not well harnessed, we will continue suffering from this interference that His Excellency, the President, talked of. Madam Speaker, when you look at the law of the intellectual property, to be specific, when you look at the area of creation and innovation, most African countries cannot innovate. There is some gaps in that law. And that has hindered, to some degree, Africa not to move forward. It is in this area that we should not just be rhetoric and talking about to say we are exporting our natural resources in raw form. But what law is there? Because these external actors that His Excellency is talking of, they are also putting up laws. It could be a convention, it could be protocols to curtail our development process as Africa. So it is high time as Africa we look at ourselves. Let us not just be talking to say we are exporting this in raw form, we are not doing the manufacturing. It centers on the law. Can we navigate through our laws at national level, at continental level, and make sure that before we are caught up in terms of the law, because that is the only thing that can make sure that we put our development agenda as Africa in the right path. Madam Speaker, I'm happy that His Excellency, as one of the leaders, they have recognized that we have got invisible hands that are making our decisions. And from that angle, it is prudent that we navigate within our laws, vis-à-vis our powerhouse, which is our natural resources, such that if we harness our natural resources, even the funding that is talking of 70% being funded by external actors, that can come to a halt. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the speech of His Excellency. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure for the people of Solwezi East to add a voice on the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, the people of Solwezi East would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Hakainde Hichilema for allowing His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Burundi, to come to this august House and address your members of Parliament and through you, the nation. Madam Speaker, we have learned that it is always important to say thank you to someone who has done good to you. And we have seen this through the appreciation of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Burundi by appreciating our forefathers, that is His Excellency Dr. Kaunda. And Madam Speaker, he also appreciated our President, our current President, for cordially welcoming him and his team with such love, with such friendship. And through that visit, Madam Speaker, we have seen that 6 bilateral agreements have been signed relating to agriculture, peace and security, among others, and also the need to strengthen diplomacy with the intention of opening up embassies in both countries. Madam Speaker, the people of Solwezi East would like to emphasize on the aspect of golden rule. The golden rule states that do unto others as you love them, do unto you. Madam Speaker, this has been expressed when the former president, our founding father, visited the Republic of Burundi and established that fact of one Zambia, one nation, one people, and he transmitted to Burundi, one nation, one people. And Madam Speaker, it is just unfortunate that some people misrepresented that gesture by chanting what was not diplomatic. And we have seen this, Madam Speaker, if one does not appreciate and honor authority, certain bad things do happen to them. We have seen it even in the young people, even in this place. By not honoring authority, certain bad things have happened to them, which is not supposed to be the case. So the golden rule needs to apply, and people need to honor authority. They need to appreciate. Madam Speaker, a small country giving donations to a big country like Zambia, that's an eye-opener, and we need to appreciate that, and we need to honor that authority so that good things will continue following us as opposed to the bad things. We don't want bad things to happen. We have reaped the good through the gift, the donation of the food. Why? Because there was a seed of peace, solidarity, unity that was planted by Dr. Kaunda in Burundi. And today we are able to reap. Why? The golden rule applies. Madam Speaker, the people of Solwezi East are saying thank you to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Burundi, and thank you to the President of the Republic of Zambia for this visitation and solidarity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member from Pika.
I'm grateful, Madam Speaker, and let me also place on record my commendations to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Burundi, His Excellency General Evariste Ndayishimiye. Madam Speaker, I once visited Burundi in 2018 at the invitation of the late President Pierre Nkurunziza. It is a very dynamic country, Madam Speaker, which was led to liberation by Louis Rwagasore, who is their freedom fighter, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me also state that I'm grateful for his country's donation to our country. Madam Speaker, from here, we need to learn a lesson. A country that is, whose population is a poverty levels stand at 80%, food insecurity stand at 41.2%, has given us a donation. Yet we are a country that not too long ago was wallowing in abundance of food. But reckless leadership exported that food. And today we are suffering, moving with a begging bowl. Grateful to His Excellency the President for his consideration. Madam Speaker, the President talks about the invisible hand.
Member from Pika, maybe just for context, the use of the word wallowing in food. Maybe there's a contradiction there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We had abundance food, Madam Speaker, in our strategic reserves. We had about 1.5 million tons of maize, Madam Speaker, which was exported, and today we are moving with a begging bowl. Madam Speaker, like I stated yesterday, the drought itself should not be an absolute excuse. We know this earth is not ours, but God gave us the brains to confront the problems that before us as we live on earth. And where we fail to use these brains, that's why we find ourselves in this situation. Madam Speaker, I wanted to go to an issue where the President talked about invisible hands controlling Africa. But, Madam Speaker, we have the capacity and ability to detect what hands are these, and also have the capability to stop them from controlling us. The problem we have, Madam Speaker, is selfishness of the leaders in Africa who are being used by the same invisible hands. And these ones have a special name. They are called puppets, Madam Speaker. Puppets are the reasons why our continent is suffering today. Puppets are the reasons why we do not have Gaddafi today. Puppets are the reasons why we do not have Robert Mugabe today. Madam Speaker, these puppets, they are the ones who I wonder if they will see heaven. A continent that has minerals, a continent that is has abundant natural resources, which people are suffering. We are being used as a benchmark for statistics of the poorest globally. It is a source of embarrassment, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank His Excellency the President that his country is involved in the situation in DRC. Our brothers and sisters in DRC, Madam Speaker, have never seen peace in that part of DRC. And it's good when we hear the president talking about efforts being made in ending the war in DRC. The war in DRC, Madam Speaker, is all about the minerals. It's not about anything else apart from the minerals. They don't care about the lives of our people. They supply weapons to the rebels. So they fight amongst themselves whilst they are looting the resources of the people of DRC. It is silence is involved in the peace process. Madam Speaker, such a president that Africa needs. Africa needs such presidents. Sons of the soul that will stand to protect its people. Those are the people we need, Madam Speaker. Puppets are bashed to you. And it's the last time that our continent should see puppets rise to power. They are an embarrassment to all of us. They are a contribution to our suffering, Madam Speaker. At what point would these puppets allow the looting of our resources to continue on the same trajectory, giving them tax holidays on everything? Madam Speaker, must come to an end. And His Excellency the President talked about having a united Africa, one nation. That is what Gaddafi wanted. Where is he? Because of that, they sponsored people in an area called Benghazi. They rose against him. We do not have many strong men do we have on Africa today. It was refreshing to hear from him. It was refreshing to hear from him that we still have men who are still thinking about the importance of being united as a country, being united as a continent. Madam Speaker, even here, we must be united. We must be united and avoid politics that divide us on tribe lines, that divide us on political lines. We must be united, Madam Speaker, and confront poverty, which is our biggest enemy. Madam Speaker, I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. The honourable member for Chiengi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's quite interesting. This is my second term, and this is the term I've seen a lot of presidents coming to address us here. It's a sign that we're trying to build relationships with our fellow African countries. Just like Kaunda, he's left a legacy which, wherever you go, whether you are in Portugal, wherever you go, Kaunda had friends all over. I think he deserves to be called an internationalist. An internationalist. You know, he built friendship. And this is what is needed. But there's one good book, Madam Speaker. This good book says the one who cannot provide for his immediate family is worse than a pagan. It's very important that as Africans, as we start talking about to unite, as we start to talk about how we are going to be in Africa, first we start with our own homes. We build unity, we build the units of purpose in our countries. Then we go outside. And it's quite encouraging to hear that in Burundi there are no more fights, and we pray and hope that we'll see now progress in terms of prosperity. Madam Speaker, the reason why these presidents are coming here is to come and do a showcase of where they're coming from. Now, when we look at our country today, and all these African leaders, my colleagues have labored to talk about, Madam Speaker, it's really worrying. I will not use a harsh word on our leaders. It's really worrying. Why is it worrying? We cannot think on our own. Everything. Why can't we even support the medicine that has been discovered by this former minister, Sondash? Because we don't have units of purpose in Africa. If we say in Kenya somebody has discovered this kind of medicine, even the medicine which was discovered in Senegal during COVID time, instead of African countries coming together to support, they waited for these chemicals which are killing people. We have so much, Madam Speaker, that we can use, the herbals that we can use, that are even, curing cancer. But people are dying because we cannot agree as one continent. We want to be Muzungwani Konde. This one wants to go and stand there, maybe to speak well in French or to speak well in English. At the end of the day, Africans are suffering. I think now that these presidents are visiting parliaments as such, I'm expecting when they leave a speech like that, they carry back the same speech from just like the way us preachers we do. When you preach, you're not only preaching to those people, you're also preaching to yourself. So I hope and trust that the president's speech will also go back to Burundi and minister to the people of Burundi, one nation, one Zambia, one nation, and then we say one Africa. Madam Speaker, it would be very nice to start hearing our presidents when they go to UN for their maiden speeches or to do anything there, to stand firm and to say, we are not going to give you this until you subscribe to our conditions. Just like the new president now for Burkina Faso, he had to cut off the uranium to Belgium. They had to beg, and now they're so rich because he gave them the conditions. This is what is expected. We are the ones who are in charge of natural resources. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. At the time that we were planning the number of honorable members to speak, the last was honorable member for Lumezi. So now there's honorable member for Bwanamkubwa, Chama South, Chinsali, Babala. I think we are, so the honorable member for Lumezi will be the last one.
Madam Speaker, I'm so privileged. I'm even worried that with the high number of foreign heads of state visiting us can take away our right honorable Madam Speaker to their respective countries. Madam Speaker, you could be a center of attraction. Madam Speaker, just to support.
How do I even get in the debate now? They can't get me. I'm a Zambian.
No, Madam Speaker, your kind heart. Sometimes, it's difficult, Madam Speaker, to tell whether it's your kind heart or your beauty that is attracting these presidents to come here, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the President...
I thought the honorable member had reformed. He's going back to his old habits. You may proceed, honorable member.
Madam Speaker, the President of Burundi spoke to Zambia as being stable, Burundi being a stable country, calm and reconciled country. Madam Speaker, for me, I think this should be our turning point as a country and as a people. Madam Speaker, this takes me to a similar situation that this country is grappling with, the issue of my brother and friend, Honorable J. Banda. On one hand, when others are abducted, the state is quick to conclude investigations and people are arrested. On one hand, one of your own, there is no state update. Madam Speaker, I think this is a lesson. It's labeled on page 3. If we have to be stable, calm, and definitely a reconciled country, we must be fair with each and every one of us, regardless of political, regional, or tribal affiliation. The other thing that attracted my attention was on page 7, the President of Burundi spoke to the issues of artificial boundaries imposed on us by the Berlin Conference. Madam Speaker, genuinely speaking, all the boundaries we have are artificial. All the tribes are artificial. We are one Zambia, one nation. It is so sad, Madam Speaker, that we are being lectured on matters that we all are aware of. We are not here because of tribe. We are here because of being Zambians first. Anything else is secondary. It's our primary objective here is to represent the aspirations of the people of Zambia. Madam Speaker, the only sad part in the entire speech, as instructed by the kind and humble people of Lumezi, was when an announcement was made that we are receiving 5,000 metric tons of maize. Madam Speaker, that donation is similar to me making a donation of a duck to our Honor the Vice President, or indeed to the Republican President, and they clap for me for making that donation. Madam Speaker, the opposite should be true. I should receive a donation. I'm just too small. How can I donate to such big treaties? How, Madam Speaker? The opposite should happen. Population-wise, inflation rate, we are far better. Madam Speaker, we cannot be a country that every week we are celebrating a donation. We don't even know whether we are receiving GMO or whether it's the maize that was sold. Because I know for sure that Mazabuka sells its sugar in Burundi. We take our beans from Lumezi into Burundi. Surely, is that something that we are proud of? Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I support the presidential speech. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to debate the presidential speech of our dear leader, the President of Burundi. Madam Speaker, I stand here to debate the speech with a heavy heart. What I've been witnessing of late, Madam Speaker, is very unfortunate and is very un-Zambian. What transpired this morning is not unusual on the part of our colleagues on your left. You do recall, Madam Speaker, when Rwanda made a donation to Zambia, our colleagues on your left rose and abused Rwanda on the floor of this House. And today, once again, we have heard the abuse by our colleagues on the President of Rwanda, or Burundi. For the first time, I've heard dance hall music here, very abusive, where they were singing on the floor of this House pertaining to the good gesture of the President of Burundi. How can we be so abusive to a country, to a president who has offered genuinely from the bottom of his heart to the people of Zambia? I have no doubt in my mind, Madam Speaker, that there are people in this House, there are people of a certain political party who are so happy that people in 84 districts in this country have been affected by drought. They are happy that the people of Zambia are suffering because they are not able to find food. They are happy. Any sane and reasonable member of the public, and in particular a member of this august House, cannot be saying the things they have been saying. There is no way you can start abusing someone who's assisting your people who are suffering, who are staying without food. If you are a genuine leader, you cannot do that. It's dishonorable, Madam Speaker, to abuse a leader who has come here to address us, trying to consolidate the friendship between Zambia and Burundi. You don't want to appreciate. You start abusing. Today, apart from the songs, we heard one of our colleagues asking and questioning the safety of the food. Do you honestly, Madam Speaker, that Burundi would want to donate poisonous food to the people of Zambia? Would you think the people of Burundi would want to kill us? For what? The President has appreciated how we have looked after their people here. And he has proposed that we need to have a joint commission to look at the issues of the refugees here. Yet we have people who are abusing. And I've heard somebody here, Madam Speaker, who's talking about unity. And that there are people here in this country who are not uniting in this country. Yet those are the same people who are saying they will not allow cockroaches to enter certain places. We should not allow hypocrisy to reign in this house. Impunity should not be allowed. Madam Speaker, we have allowed members to abuse the immunity which they enjoy in this house. Members of the house have come on the floor of this house to abuse anybody they intend to abuse and get away with it. It's high time that certain measures must be taken. There's no doubt. The leadership of Burundi were listening. They were in your public gallery, Madam Speaker. Rwandan leaders were listening. The leaders of Rwanda who are in the diplomatic corps were listening when they were abusing Rwanda. Whom do we want to be our neighbors? Whom do we want to be our neighbors? Madam Speaker, I hope this will never be repeated again. Ourselves as government, we appreciate, no matter how little the support we get, we appreciate. This is coming from the bottom of their hearts to assist our suffering people. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Her Honor, the Vice President, winding up debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the honorable members for supporting this very important motion to place on record thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evaristo Ndayishimiye. I think we may not have debated because of time, but like the numbers were, people would have wanted to debate. But it shows that we appreciate visitors, especially visitors of this kind that we are receiving. It's almost unprecedented that the presidents should come under your guidance in this august house. Several presidents have come. They don't come to showcase, Honorable Member for Chienge. They come to actually observe the good things that they have heard about us. You don't carry to come and showcase. So people are hearing the good news about Zambia, and they are coming. We should really, really appreciate them. I am happy that people have appreciated also the donation. But to the Honorable Member of Volumezi, it's good to be the last person I mentioned for this meeting. Honorable Member, means all of us. I am not putting the Ubuntu the way you know. Ubuntu means we live together with understanding of each other's needs. We are a Christian nation, madam. Luke 21 and verse 13, Honorable, is the story of Jesus watching people give. I'm sure everybody knows that. I'm sure the Honorable Member, we will remember, we are a Christian nation, we will remember that Jesus said, this woman, the one who gave a meal, who was the poorest of them, when she gave, Jesus said, this has given more than all the rest. This is where we stand. This is the principle, madam. When a person who doesn't have gives, shares the little that they have, you do understand. That's why the president said, we have given from the bottom of our hearts. That is a true gift. Because from plenty you can give. Because they have seen. Zambia has given before. And madam, I don't want us to go home with the notion that there was any misleading statement in this house. We are still eating. We are supposed to all starve because there should be no maize. Because we are not yet eating this year's harvest, colleagues. That means there was maize in the country. The drought has come this way. Let us appreciate. And just the ministers had no opportunity. I'm telling you, we thank God that we have today, you know, literally, we have up to 406,000 metric tons of maize from within the country. God loves us. And Burundi and the Burundi people love us also. Rwanda loves us. People love us and they are taking care. Nobody shall die. Give me a gift, Honorable Umezi. I will appreciate it more than somebody who may have plenty. That's what it means. That's what life is all about. I appreciate the honorable members and the support to the motion. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah.
I put the question. The question is that this House places on record its thanks to His Excellency, Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I wish I could say thank you beyond that, but I beg to move that the House do now adjourn. Thank you.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned. Cindy.
Well, thank you so much, and the House has adjourned sine die. It's been a busy month. Members of Parliament debating various bills and also debating some questions for oral answer. Her Honor, the Vice President's question time has been very interesting and exciting. Some members of Parliament will be heading to their various constituencies just to interact with the people that gave them their mandate to be here in Lusaka. So before we leave, a recap of what has been considered on the floor of the House when business resumed earlier in the day, in the morning.
Yes, President, 5 announcements were made. We also had Her Honor the Vice President's question time, a segment of 45 minutes. After that, we had a special address to the House by His Excellency, Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi. And the House also considered 2 questions for oral answer, Understanding Order 82.
And there were 2 reports that were considered, and the first report came from Mr. Darius Mulunda, who is Yavunga Member of Parliament, and he is Committee Chairperson of the Committee on Local Government Accounts. The report was urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Local government accounts and on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2022. For the third session of the 13th National Assembly, the document was laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 1st August 2024, and this report was seconded by Mr. Mishek Nyambose Chasefu, Member of Parliament, and this report has since been adopted.
Another motion was moved by Sesheke, Member of Parliament, Mr. Romeo Kangombe, urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism on the special audit report of the Auditor General on the procurement and management of petroleum products from 2022 for and when a has been adopted. After that, the House went on to consider the Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, which came at a committee stage, passed through committee without amendments, considered at the third reading, and it was read the third time and it has passed.
And it's also worth mentioning, Matimba, that earlier in the day we had the Burundian President, His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, addressing Parliament, and quite a number of issues were raised. And earlier on, should I say just before adjournment, the last part of today's meeting was on a moving a motion urging thanks His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye's special address that this House places on record its thanks to His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Zambia, or President of the Republic of Burundi, on the occasion of his special address to the House. And we did see quite a number of members of Parliament debating, and the motion has since been adopted. And a number of issues were raised when he addressed members of Parliament. He did appreciate the gratitude for the warm reception that he received together with his entourage when he arrived yesterday to the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport right here in Lusaka. And he also talked about the link, how Zambia and Burundi is linked by culture and geographical through the Lake Tanganyika, and also emphasized on the importance of parliamentary diplomacy. And he said that the state visit is a testimony of the strong bilateral relationship that is between the two countries, that is Burundi and Zambia. He also talked about the role that the two countries can play in bringing security and stability in the Democratic Republic of Congo, because DRC and Burundi are neighbors, together with Zambia as well on the what happens in DRC affects the two countries as well. And the key part also talked about the donation that Burundi has pledged to donate 5 million metric tons of maize, rice and beans to the Republic of Zambia, looking at what the country is grappling with in terms of the drought that the country experienced in the 2023-2024 rainy season. So basically, that's the business has been today, Matimba.
Yes, President, and must make mention that we've seen the House considering questions for oral answer, understanding 80, 82 and ministerial statements on different subjects, and that the House has adjourned CNDA today. And so from all of us here, it's goodbye. Keep watching Parliament Television. Good afternoon.
La Liga Badoops time way. The 2024-2025 La Liga season is back on Top Star. Are you a fan of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla or Atletico Madrid? Starting August 15, don't miss out on your favorite football stars Mbappe, Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal and more as the battle for the Spanish football crown. But wait! Take advantage of the winter load shedding solution to enjoy massive discounts before promotion ends on 15th August. Quickly pay 1 month of your current bouquet and get upgraded to the next. Pay 1 month on Antenna Classic or Dish Super and get 5 extra free viewing days. Download the StarTimes Own app and enjoy La Liga on the go. So hurry now. Pay 1 month. Top Star. Pay less. Get more.
Land that I cherish, so close to my heart. This land, founded on freedom, grounded in justice, love for all mankind. It's a land where every person is born free, and it's a land of peace, of love and unity. This land, Zambia, land of the strong, home of the brave, our land, Zambia, free men we stand in this land. In this land, beauty all around. There is no other, love like a mother's, love for her child. Oh, there's nobody come and take our peace away. Let no one take what is free for all to share. This land, Zambia, land of the strong, home of the brave. Our land, Zambia, free men we stand in this land. Ooh, I believe the better days are surely coming, and I believe that we can make it through the night if we lay pride aside. Put a trust in God. Learn to love each other. You're my sister, you're my brother. Right or wrong, together we are stronger. So don't let nothing tear us apart.